Thank you, Madam Chair. I spent 20 years in the Navy, retired as a Master Chief, and I'd argue quality of life is fundamental to recruitment and retention. And that lane falls solely with the, not solely, but it falls in the senior enlisted leader ranks. So my first question is for Sergeant Major Black. As a father, veteran, and Texan, the murder of Vanessa Guillen hit close to home. My oldest daughter is Vanessa's age when she was murdered. The Fort Hood Independent Review Committee determined that at the time of her murder, the command climate at Fort Hood was permissive of sexual harassment and assault. Fear of another tragedy can affect recruitment and readiness. To their credit, the Army underwent a thorough review and is revising the way it intakes and handles sexual harassment and sexual assault claims. This problem isn't limited to Fort Hood or the Army. How have the Navy and Marine Corps team improved the way they intake and handle sexual harassment claims?
Sir, thank you for your question. Just so I can be clear on sexual assault writ large, it's a crime. Simply put, it's a crime. We should treat it and look at any sexual assault allegation as a crime. Thank you, by the way, to everybody that took part in updating the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which now has a specific violation attached to sexual assault. With reference to Fort Hood, in your specific question, sir, we've read that investigation. There were numerous recommendations that came out of the investigation. I believe it's about 15 of them. And we've taken action on some of them already, and we're proceeding with the rest as we get through some of the administration of that. We're continuing to right size and professionalize our SAPR programs throughout the Marine Corps. I would offer to the entire department, right sizing our SAPR programs is a number one. Do we have the right amount of people in the right place to be able to affect the training, the education, and prevention? And I'll add intervention from my own personal thought on intervention of potential sexual harassment, sexual assault. Increased commander engagement. What I mean by that is not that commanders aren't necessarily engaged, but more emphasis on training commanders on how to develop a command climate that does not even have a perception that sexual assault or sexual harassment is permissible, acceptable, or is ignored within their commands. Additionally, additional case level review processes I think are helpful. And we talked about this a little bit before about investigatory processes. That's after the fact. But the fact of the matter is deterrence comes from also being able to get after those that commit the offense. Anything we can do to speed up the investigatory process will ultimately get faster case resolution. We go down a long list, sir, but I think some of the highlights I'll put to you right there, those things are happening right now. And we're going to continue to work towards achieving the rest of the recommendations of the Fort Hood investigation as quickly as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Major. And I'll just reiterate, this zero tolerance for sexual harassment and sexual assault has to be a priority, right, to all of us. There's some talk of maybe taking some of that authority out of the base commanders and putting it in another function or functionality. Doesn't matter to me. Like, we just have to get to the root of the issue. And I look at the senior enlisted leaders as those that have the pulse of the troops, the pulse of the sailors, soldiers, airmen, and Marines, and we have to ensure that those are protected. My next question is for MCPON Smith. I served 20 years in the Navy, right? I'm Mexican-American. I represent a district that is 71% Hispanic. When I was in the Navy, what fears me the most is I wake up and I don't recognize my Navy. And I didn't retire 30 years ago. I retired a little over a year ago. And what it feels as if everybody, this woke culture is trying to label everybody. You're a white sailor, you're a black sailor, you're a brown sailor, you're this, that, or the other. When I served my time in the Navy, I was just a U.S. Navy sailor. So my question is this, specifically on Task Force 1, the Navy's Task Force 1 proposal. How much did Task Force 1 Navy's activity cost the American taxpayer?
Sir, I don't have the dollar amount of the cost. I can take that question for the record and get back to you, but I'll tell you the benefit that we gained from that task force effort has been incalculable. Understanding and seeing where we have problems and biases and frankly, issues of racism that we need to correct and make sure that we provide, as the CNO says, opportunity for every sailor who comes to us. That's critical to our warfighting effort. As I said in the beginning, in my opening statement, complex problems in combat are solved best by diverse teams that have diversity of thought that comes with the diversity of who we serve alongside. So it's critical for us to embrace that diversity and ensure not just for the American people and saying, here's an opportunity and you should be able to take advantage of it, but frankly, that's how we win. We're not a homogenous nation like some of our near peer competitors. We have that luxury of the diversity of thought. A sailor from Chicago, as you know, thinks very differently than a sailor who grew up in California or grew up in Texas or grew up in New York. And having diverse teams that not only look and reflect the American people we serve, but have that diversity of thought to work through complex challenges. That's what we need to win.
I got much more on this, but I'm out of time. I yield back, Madam Chair.